I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Quincy School Committee meeting, regular school committee, excuse me, of Wednesday, May 17th. Would you please stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. The superintendent has a memoriam.
Thank you. We have one memoriam tonight. Could you please keep in your thoughts and prayers the family of Rebecca Nutley, who passed away earlier in the week. Rebecca was the department head of guidance at North Quincy High School and held other guidance positions through her 24 years with the district. Rebecca is also the wife of North Quincy High School Dean Mark Nutley. Again, if you could keep Rebecca and the Nutley family in your prayers, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Please call the roll.
Mr. Bergoli? Mrs. Cahill? Mr. Guttrow? Mrs. Hubley? Mrs. Lebo? Mr. Santoro?
Present.
And Mayor Koch.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to read a statement pursuant to the open meeting law. Any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 9th. On a motion, Mrs. Lebo, seconded by Mrs. Hubley. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes of May 3rd. On a motion of Mrs. Cahill, seconded by Mr. Guttrow, we approve. All in favor? Opposed? And the ayes have it. This is open forum, number 2 on our agenda. This is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools community. And in this context, the community is defined as a resident of the city of Quincy, a parent of a student who attends the QPS, or an employee of the QPS. Non-community people are not permitted to speak at open forum, but they may submit written statements to the school committee. If you are speaking after giving your name, please give your address, and each speaker may make a presentation of no more than 4 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Interested parties may also submit written statements to the superintendent's office. Do we have anybody for open forum tonight? Please come forward. I'm going to put them all on just in case.
All right, thanks.
I think we're good.
Can you hear me? All right, great. Jennifer Chen, 28 Barber Terrace. Several years ago, when I shared with a school committee member how incredibly nervous I was to speak at my first open forum, they couldn't understand why it would be so intimidating. It is never easy to make oneself vulnerable and walk into an environment where significant power imbalance exists. It is never easy to share one's values, beliefs, and experiences and risk being discredited and criticized in a public forum. What I experienced during the May 3rd meeting was a deliberate public reminder of where I stand in the eyes of this school committee. It is humiliating to have your community, your family, your identity referred to as the ethnicity of the moment. For me, this issue is much more personal and goes deeper than simply having a day off from school. It is about belonging. It is about feeling seen and valued every single day in the Quincy Public Schools. What I heard was, my history and culture does not matter. I do not have power. I do not belong. Your words that evening impact not only the Asian community, but anyone or group who feels like an other in Quincy. I am not the ethnicity of the moment, like an ice cream flavor of the month. I am a person, a community member, parent, and voter. My emotions go beyond disappointment I feel rejected and betrayed.
Anyone else for open forum? Last call. We have two letters. Mrs. Oates.
So the first letter is from Susan Chinsen. Greetings. My statement today is to share my disappointment from the last school council meeting, not because Lunar New Year was not included in the 2023-24 calendar, but for the poor or rather dismissive response from most of the council members to requests from multiple community members, including students and parents. To Chairperson Mayor Koch, I send my appreciation to you for your comments, which were a direct response to the various requests from students and parents, and offered a suggestion and encouragement towards finding a solution. You mentioned a survey, and I wanted to advocate for that happening sooner rather than later, wondering if we could poll middle and high school students before the end of the year via homerooms, and perhaps also start to collect that type of info upon enrollment. While I heard other council members' desire to be equal and unfavoring of any one group or belief, those statements are already contradictory to what is in practice, as my 11-year-old son noted when he asked me, "What about Good Friday?" And to not acknowledge that seems even more marginalizing of the Asian community in Quincy and those of us who voice our concerns. Through this process, I heard many stakeholders in favor, and the only dissents were the viewpoints of council members. Laws and policy are not perfect, and we rely on humans, also not perfect, to practice and apply them. I hope that more humanity and common sense finds its way into this process. And lastly, thank you, Vice Chair Santoro, for your vigilance on and recognition of this matter. The second letter is from Maya Egan, a senior at North Quincy High School and secretary of the Student Council. Last night, I had the pleasure of shaking all of your hands as I was recognized for being a senior member in our chapter of the National Honor Society. On my way into City Hall last night, I noticed a group of people holding signs outside of the building with slogans such as representation in Quincy and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I realized that my National Honor Society recognition coincided with the committee's vote on whether or not to add a day off to the school calendar in recognition of Lunar New Year. I became immensely excited that this issue was being brought to the committee and that we had an opportunity to increase the visibility and recognition of an integral part of our Quincy culture. This afternoon, curious about the result, I discovered that the Lunar New Year day off was rejected 6-1. I am deeply disturbed and saddened by this decision. I understand that the school committee's decision was based mainly on the idea that recognizing Lunar New Year as a school holiday would be disregarding other cultural holidays and therefore unequal. I would remind the committee that by simply existing in the United States of America today, we are living in a systematically unequal society. Our country, including Quincy, is biased towards historically white religions, holidays, and traditions. I would reply to Mr. Guttrow's statement that we do not currently have any religious, ethnic school holidays by pointing out our day off for Good Friday. Although less than half of the student population is Catholic, this religious holiday is a day off for all. Despite the supposed separation of church and state, the Christian religion is integrated into many aspects of our school system, for our repetition of Under God and the Pledge of Allegiance each morning, to our curriculum based around white history and literature, to the songs praising God sung in the school choirs, of which I am a part. I understand that this is an issue beyond any one person or committee, but it cannot accurately be stated that the QPS system is completely equal toward all cultures and religions. This is why last night's vote was so important to so many people. A day off for Lunar New Year would not simply be a change in the school schedule, it would be recognition of Quincy's rich Asian culture and an act of solidarity with and respect for those who celebrate culturally diverse holidays in the city. This amendment would say, we see you, we value you, and we are willing to prove it. I know the idea of opening up school holidays to include more than those of the white mainstream may seem like opening up the floodgates to all of the ethnic holidays the world has to offer. Mr. Guttrow, the idea of a trigger is indeed a question that needs to be addressed. Perhaps the mark can be set at 30% of the population. Asian Americans currently make up approximately 40% of the Quincy population. While this is less than half, that is still about 40,500 people who you are all elected to represent. The specific details going forward of how school holidays will be decided can certainly be further discussed and quantitatively decided. What people need right now is to see that their governing body recognizes them and is willing to listen to what they have to say. I can almost guarantee that people of other cultural traditions will not be angry that Quincy is beginning to be more inclusive toward a wider variety of people. Even if their holiday is not granted time off, simply living in a city that is welcoming towards more cultures is going to make people feel like they are welcome to be themselves. Another argument brought up by Mrs. Cahill was that due to the time lost during quarantine, we should not take our students out of school any more than we already are. A few months ago, when the 2023 Lunar New Year was celebrated, about half of the students at North Quincy High School were not in school the day after the holiday, which fell on a Sunday this year. Being Caucasian myself, I did not celebrate and was in school, so I was able to experience the great absence of students in school that day. With some of my classes being nearly empty, the majority of my teachers simply gave us the day off, putting on a movie or allowing us to do homework. With so many students already missing, it would have been unproductive to continue with the curriculum. So simply giving the day off for all students would not make much of a difference from the current situation. I would suggest that if one extra day off is too great of a sacrifice, or if an extra day at the end of the year is unwanted, the committee may swap the Good Friday day off for Lunar New Year. I feel that this would be an affirmative action for all of those who have been historically oppressed in the United States for their culture and religion.
Mrs. Owens, we're over the 4 minutes, so I'm going to ask that if people want to see the end of Maya's letter, they can refer to the,
I will post it online.
post it on.
Yes, okay.
Thank you. Okay, Superintendent's report. Item A, student recognition, class of 2023, seal of biliteracy. Superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm honored tonight to present to you our recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy. Tonight, we are recognizing the 23 students from the class of 2023 from North Quincy High School and Quincy High School who have met the criteria to receive the Massachusetts Seal of Biliteracy. The students are accompanied by Coordinator of English Learner Education, Heather Wojcik, and North Quincy High School World Languages Department Chair Alicia Tempau-Najeri, who will introduce the students and present them with certificates of recognition. So thank you, Ms. Wojcik.
Good evening. Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the 23 graduating seniors who have earned the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy. This graduating class of 2023 is the first class in Quincy Public Schools to participate and earn this prestigious award for high school graduates who demonstrate proficiency in English and one or more languages. These students showcase their language abilities and/or celebrated their cultural heritage in the following 8 languages: Albanian, Cantonese, French, Mandarin, Portuguese, Spanish, Swedish, and Vietnamese. To explain these students' high language proficiency, the state provided them with one of 2 designations: Seal of Biliteracy or Seal of Biliteracy with Distinction. For the Seal of Biliteracy recipients, these students earned an English proficiency score as measured by the state's ELA MCAS of 472 or higher. They earned a high intermediate level of proficiency on a state-approved world language assessment across all language domains in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And they lastly satisfied all graduation requirements. For the recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy with Distinction, these students earned a score of 501 or higher on the MCAS and an advanced level of proficiency on a state-approved world language assessment and completed graduation requirements. So the level of seal and language are noted on the students' high school transcripts. Congratulations to all. Now we will recognize the students. As I read the students' names, they will enter the room, receive their certificate from North Quincy High World Language Department Head Alicia Tempau-Najeri, and shake hands with school committee members. This evening, we have 10 North Quincy High seniors who are present. Candace Chan, Spanish Seal. Maya Egan, Spanish Seal. Nicholas Imbarcello, Swedish Seal with Distinction. Ishan Gao, Mandarin Seal. Katie Jung, French Seal. Diani Mayu Cisneros, Spanish Seal. Sophie Noreen, 2 seals, French Seal and Spanish Seal. Sabrina Tung, Spanish Seal. And Jackie Zhao, Spanish Seal with Distinction. We would also like to recognize the North Quincy High students not present this evening. Jiling Lentan, who had 2 seals, Seal of Distinction for Mandarin and the French Seal. And also not present, Yayi Shao, who had the Mandarin Seal. So thank you, North Quincy High. This evening, we have 11 Quincy High School seniors who are present. Starting with Sarah Alberoni, Spanish Seal with Distinction. Karen Campos, Portuguese Seal. Vanessa Chan, Cantonese Seal with Distinction. Nick Chen, he has the Portuguese Seal with Distinction. Annie Chen, Mandarin Seal. Saidi Guerrero, Spanish Seal. Christiana Nguyen, Spanish Seal. Thuy Nguyen, Vietnamese Seal. Julia Rue, Portuguese Seal. Vasiliana Soda, Albanian Seal. Jocelyn Ju, Mandarin Seal. We would also like to recognize the Quincy High School student not present tonight, Rebecca Da Silva, Portuguese Seal. To the students, congratulations, but I turn also to the families. Thank you for your support.
Coming back in for a photo.
All right, now we're going to do a group photo.
In the well, here, just right along the back. Mr. Gilbert, will you get another picture? I'm gonna need 2 rows. Can the front row squat a little bit? We have one more. You're getting one more? Okay, perfect. Go ahead. Do this outside.
apologies, Vicki. Before we take a break, I'd also like to recognize Principal Gilbert for his attendance tonight. He's got many events to go to tonight, athletic as well. Thank you, Principal Gilbert. Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, so if you need to leave, go ahead. You're certainly welcome to stay. Thank you all. Okay, we'll now resume with the superintendent's report. Item B, superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening again, everyone. Before I begin, I do also want to recognize Guidance Counselor Stephanie Jones was here from Quincy High School representing Quincy High for all of the Quincy High students who received the biliteracy certificate. So I just want to make sure that we recognize Stephanie for supporting our students tonight. Unfortunately, Mr. Ford could not join us tonight, so Stephanie stood in his absence. So thank you, Stephanie. Next on the agenda is our high school graduation update. Preparations are underway to recognize the accomplishments of the class of 2023 on Monday, June 5th, Quincy High School, and Tuesday, June 6th, North Quincy High School, both at 6 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Stadium. Thanks to the Department of Natural Resources and the Public Buildings Department for their collaboration on these events, and we're looking forward to celebrating with the graduates, their families, and the high school staff and administrators. Next is the Quincy Public Schools Summer Program update. Registration is now open for the Quincy Public Schools Summer Programs, and we've had a good response for both the invitation and open enrollment programs. Of course, we encourage all interested students and families to participate and sign up as soon as possible. Information was emailed directly to QPS parents and guardians via Aspen, and the information is displayed prominently on the Quincy Public School website and social media. Thank you to Kelly Powers for making that available to our families on our social media accounts. And I'm very happy to report this year, in collaboration with the Quincy Police Department, we are offering a free youth police academy for 50 students entering grade 8 the week of July 24th through July 28th. Students who are interested in learning more about law enforcement and criminal justice are encouraged to apply. Application forms were emailed to grade 7 parents and guardians and are available by contacting Laura Owens at lauraowens@quincypublicschools.com. Thank you specifically to Chief Keenan and Officers Greg Hartnett and Ryan Donnelly for organizing this great event for our students. So thank you again to the Quincy Police Department for this great activity for our students. Recent Quincy Public School events. The Quincy Multicultural Festival, a collaboration of Quincy Public Schools and the Citywide Parent Council EDI Subcommittee, was held this past Saturday, May 13th, at the Four River Field. The event was attended by hundreds of QPS students and families who enjoyed the music and dance performances, games, activities, and the food trucks that provided connections from cultures all over the world. Special thanks to the parent organizers, Mara Papil, Keith Sagala, Kevin Sagala, the family liaisons, Assistant Superintendent Perkins, and the many volunteers who were part of the planning of the event, along with the support of the Department of Natural Resources. So many, many people came together, including members of this committee and, of course, the mayor, to support this very important annual event. It was a great day for all students and families, and we were very proud of the response and the attendance as well. So thank you everyone again for a great day. And many of our graduating seniors from both high schools are the beneficiaries of generous scholarships, thanks to the support of our local community members. On May 9th, the Quincy Retired Teachers Association presented 40 scholarships. And yesterday, the Quincy Rotary Club presented 30 scholarships for our students. Each high school also hosts scholarship events later in May, and the dates of those events will be shared with the school committee as soon as possible. Next is the upcoming Quincy Public Schools in City of Quincy events. QPS Robotics Challenge for grades 5 through 8 will be held on Saturday, May 20th at Quincy High School beginning at 9 a.m. Montclair Elementary School will have their May Festival on Saturday, May 20th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Quincy Public School Community Fitness Night for students in kindergarten through grade 5 will occur on Tuesday, May 23rd at 6 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Stadium. The Quincy Art Fest is being held from May 13th to June 11th at the Q Arts Gallery in Quincy Center. The Arts Fest will feature 170 pieces of artwork and photography from Quincy Art Association members, local artists, and Quincy Public School students. Thank you to the Quincy Arts Gallery for hosting this great event. On Saturday, June 3rd at 9 a.m., the Point Webster Clifford Marshall Family Fun Run and Wellness Expo will begin at Point Webster and end at Clifford Marshall, where there will be family fun activities. And I hope that our students and families will participate in that great event as well. With that, concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Fiscal year 2024 City of Quincy budget. Mayor Koch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you all know, I presented to the City Council Monday night, May 15th, for the city budget in its entirety for the new fiscal year, July 1, 2024. Under the law, I'm required to do that some 45 days before the end of the current fiscal year. We certainly met that obligation. We spoke a little bit about some of the priorities and challenges and programs that this budget reflects, and I truly believe the entire budget reflects the values of this great city that we're privileged to serve. So I'd like to give just a brief overview, and then obviously we're going to get into the school side of it. But I know that there's some folks that like to point out, or don't like to point out the entirety of it. If you look at this, I know we passed this book out. This is the executive summary. The total book's a little bit bigger, but the fund allocations, the education budget this year is $127.5 million. But that doesn't tell the whole story, and I'd like to remind the public of that. I know this body knows that. You know, you look at employee benefits, the biggest department with most employees is the school department. So all the health insurance for all those employees comes out of that line. Public safety, we have great interaction with our police and fire departments. The school resource officers, the traffic supervisors, they're all funded directly out of the police budget. Debt service, we're doing a lot of maintenance, we're doing a lot of new building, but a piece of that debt service is for the new school buildings and a number of the projects. Administration and finance, that all makes it all work. They're certainly part of the team. Infrastructure management, that would be the Public Buildings Department and Department of Public Works. And we know the kind of work the Public Buildings Department does in each and every one of our school buildings, as well as the Public Works Department that takes care of some of the hardscape around the buildings. And if you recall, prior to my service, the school department budget was charged for snow and ice, where we now put all that under the DPW budget. So we've done everything we can to alleviate, take pressure off those areas that aren't necessarily education-related, but we're in competition with monies for the school classroom. I'd also add the Natural Resources Department to that, all our parks and recreation, the great interaction we have between the schools, obviously, and the Department of Natural Resources on a regular basis. It's just tremendous. So we far exceed our foundation budget, which is required under the law. And I know Jim can attest to much of that. And again, to the public, we raise funds three ways in the municipal setting. The property tax is the largest. About 75% of our revenues comes from property tax. That's all property tax, residential, commercial, industrial. And then we have local receipts, which is auto excise tax, which is building permit fees, meals tax, hotel tax. If you go to get a birth certificate, all those little smaller fees dump into the general fund as a local receipt. And then we have state aid. State aid is a big portion in some communities' budgets. It's a significant portion in ours. Not as big as some of the ones around us, but nonetheless, we have a big increase this year in state aid from our delegation. So I want to publicly thank our delegation. Speaker Mariano, who used to sit on the school committee, recognizes the need, but certainly Representative Ayers, Representative Chan, and Senator Keenan for their support for such an increase in the Chapter 70, which is, as you know, is the restricted aid that goes into education. Unrestricted didn't go up a whole lot. And then Chapter 90s is for roads and sidewalks. Once again, we're getting a decent allotment from our delegation. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Congressman Lynch, who's been a champion for this district. Let's not forget, the last few years, the CARES Act, the ARPA monies, all those federal dollars that flowed into the city through his work. So I just tip my hat to my colleagues on this committee, my colleagues at the council, my colleagues at the state and federal level, for everybody working together. And I think we deliver pretty well for the people of Quincy. Obviously, I'll be open to questions as we go forward. I know we're going to meet in subcommittee next week, I believe, Monday night, to begin going through it. Just for the public's edification, the mayor sets the bottom line on the budget for the school budget, and then I become one of 7 members that then vote on the budget, usually based on recommendations by the superintendent and the leadership team. So with that, I'd turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, with myself and Assistant Superintendent Aaron Perkins and Mr. Mullaney, our Director of Business Affairs, will go through with you our proposed budget for next year. And you'll see, I'll go through, obviously, the increases that we're seeing, and of course, thanks to the mayor and with the approval of the city council, we have a very, very healthy budget this year, which is great. I'll just go quickly through the budget process with you. Then Mr. Mullaney will go through some of the history that we have with regard to establishing a budget for the Quincy Public Schools, and then specifically we'll go through recommended position fundings. And you'll see that the vast majority of our positions that we're recommending are positions that we need because of class size numbers increasing, particularly at North Quincy High School and one subject area at Quincy High School as well. And we'll go through that with you so you can see. So I'll just review the budget process. So as part of this process, we have identified areas of consideration through meeting with members of the superintendent's leadership team and the principal, specifically myself and Aaron Perkins, met with each and every individual principal to make sure that all of their needs were being met with regard to staffing, and of course, receiving requests from them as well. Some requests we were able to accomplish, others we were not able to accomplish. But I think that what we have put together tonight is a comprehensive funding of key areas for the district. Next is we review and organize options to address possible areas of impact, which you'll hear tonight. A lot of that impact is class size, again, particularly at North Quincy High School, as well as our special education areas as well. We prioritize possible areas of increase and shift, as well as potential reductions. We look at and determine impact on budget area lines, and that's usually done with the superintendent's leadership team, myself and Mr. Mullaney and Assistant Superintendent Perkins. We present options, obviously, tonight. That's where we're here. Present options to the Quincy School Committee for your consideration. Obviously, the school committee will prioritize the options and respond with suggestions. And we will obviously rework any options that we have here tonight to meet the directives of this committee. And then, of course, act on those options with presentation of a final budget that this committee will pass, and also the public will have a commentary period as well on the budget. Next, I just want to review quickly with you the just kind of budget analysis at a glance. The superintendent's leadership team budget for FY 2024. It's a total of $134,639,644. This represents a $8,200,000 increase from the FY 2023 budget, so that is significant. Again, an $8,200,000 increase from the FY 23 budget. Funding for this year's budget comes from 2 sources. Obviously, the mayor's appropriation of $127,539,644, a $6,700,000 or 5.54% increase from the FY 2023 appropriation of $120,839,644. projected circuit breaker funding is the second source for this budget, the additional funding in this budget, and that is an amount of $7,100,000. And this is an increase of $1,500,000 from FY 2023. And as the mayor said, we give thanks to our state delegation for assisting us in getting that increase as well. With this, I'll turn the presentation over to Mr. Mulaney, who will review with you some historical data relative to our budgets in the past compared to the budget that we're presenting to you tonight.
This slide shows what the mayor alluded to earlier. The blue line, the bar, is the amount of the appropriation for us. And as you can see in the final column, fiscal year 2024, we've got the appropriation of $127,539,644. And on top of that, as the mayor said, many expenses are carried by the city side, the largest being the benefits for employees, health insurance, pension for people who are not in MTRS, debt service, and what have you. This year, the budget contains $72,970,055. So a total spending for the public schools from the budget is $200,509,699, which is basically 50% of the city of Quincy's budget is being spent for the education and well-being of our students. The next slide here shows the net school spending. As the mayor said, the state government puts out a foundation budget for us. The blue bars are the foundation budget. The small red bars are the Chapter 70 funding. And while it's significant to us, compared to other cities and towns, we don't really get that much in aid from the state. So the vast majority comes from other sources, principally being real estate taxes. You can see that we have $146 million this fiscal year for our foundation budget, and we're expected to spend $170,798,000 for that. There's a difference between the $200 million and the $170 million because they take out certain items like capital improvements, school funding, and what have you. So that doesn't go to net school spending, but it's certainly an expense the city is making on behalf of the students. This is a graph of the per pupil spending. The foundation budget, as you can see, is those blue lines, and the larger red line above it is the difference, the amount over and above that the city of Quincy funds education for the students. So you can see it's approximately $3,000 more per student than the state mandated budget. So when we move forward, we look at what it would take to just maintain our services going forward. We looked at the prior year's budget. We had negotiated increases of $6,720,115, or $15. Projected level budget would require $133.2 million increase in funds. We have two offsets, $7,100,000 from circuit breaker, which is a pretty large increase over the prior year. It's due to two things. One, the state has a pretty large surplus, and they're fully funding the circuit breaker this year at the 75%. And they've increased the reimbursement for special ed transportation, which 2 years ago they didn't even have. So that's significant for our budget. And fortunately, we're able to use our salary savings. We're estimating about 25 retirements this year, at about $40,000 savings. So that would be $1 million. So we have $8.1 million in offsets. So we'd need an appropriation of $125 million from the city to maintain. The appropriation from the city was $127.54 million. So that left us funds available for budget building of basically $2.5 million. So what this allowed us to do is meet all contractual obligations for the step and level increases, a net amount of the $5.7 million, that $1 million of savings, and it provided the extra $2.5 million to address class size, academic program support, and other areas of consideration.
So next we'll get into what we're proposing to you tonight. So what you have in front of you right here is just a reminder of the class size recommendations based on the school committee guidelines, which is something that we consider as we're determining what the needs are for the next fiscal year. And so in terms of academic classroom teachers, some of the things that we discuss when we're making our decisions regarding the needs and the budget are whether or not the current budget allows us to maintain or increase. And thanks to the generosity of the mayor, we are able to increase, which, you know, we are very thrilled to be able to do that. Is there a need to reduce or increase our academic classroom teaching staff? And luckily, we are able to increase. What were the changes in the academic classroom teaching staff, which are things like retirement, resignations, leave of absences. So we look at all of that. Open enrollment projections, we go through all of the numbers for projected open enrollment or enrollment for the following school year. And what areas may possibly be exceeding the school committee guidelines in terms of class size recommendations. And so as a result of all of that discussion, what we are recommending is an increase of 4 academic classroom teachers. These teachers will be at North Quincy High School. I know that we have discussed, I think starting last year, about the increase in enrollment at North Quincy High School and the large class sizes. We have addressed some of that through teachers picking up things like a 6th class. We did increase a little bit last year. We added a couple of positions last year. And so what we are recommending is an additional teacher basically in all of the subject areas. So ELA, math, science, and social studies. And so that would be our recommendation. There are a number of classes that are looking like they will in each area exceed the school committee guidelines, be over 27, 28 students in the fall. And so we really feel like this is probably our largest priority with the exception of special education, which I'll talk about in a second. So next we move into academic programs, and you have in front of you the list of the areas that we consider to be academic programs. We have a similar discussion regarding academic programs, whether or not the budget allows us to maintain or increase. And again, we are able to increase. And what are the changes in the academic program staffing? Are there retirements, resignations, leave of absences, things like that? And do we need to consider a reduction in force? And thankfully, we do not. And so this, I'll just explain what some of these different items are. So the first item was a reconciliation that happened in October. That was an additional art teacher that was needed in order to cover preparatory time at the elementary level. We are recommending an increase of 1 EL teacher. Our numbers continually grow in this area, and we have a need at the elementary school level to increase a position. We are also recommending, and this is based on some of the information we've talked with you about this year, we are recommending that we increase 2 math interventionists, and this would be specifically for Point and Southwest. And I know that that you felt very strongly about that the school committee felt very strongly about that after looking at the data, the school improvement plans. We absolutely base this on MCAS data. It is 100% needed at those schools, and we really think that that will be a great boost for the math scores at both of those schools. We're also recommending an increase in 1 music teacher, and this is at the elementary level, and again, to address the prep time. 1 physical education teacher, that is at the high school level. That's actually at Quincy High School, and that is because of the large class sizes. Quincy High School does have challenges with scheduling because of some of the CVTE programs. Students take the physical education, typically in one quarter, which can cause the numbers to get pretty significant. And in some of those classes, there are about 70, 80 children in the class, which is way too high. And so we are recommending another physical education teacher. And then we're also recommending increasing special education teachers, and this covers a couple of different areas. And so we are asking for a 1.5 increase. That's at the middle school level, and that's to address caseload concerns. It's something that we spent a lot of time looking at and considering through, as we moved through the year, the special education numbers. Central's and Atlantic's numbers are higher than the rest of the district in terms of the caseload for the special educators. And so we would like to increase one position at Atlantic and a 0.5 at Central. There's already a 0.5 there. So we'd just like to make that person a full-time in order to get the caseloads pretty even across the district, and they would be at a really nice, excellent number for great services for our students. In addition, we're asking for a special needs learning center teacher at the high school. We have 16 children moving up to North Quincy High School, and we have only 2 children leaving us. And so we are asking for another learning center teacher over at the high school at North. And then our CARES numbers continue to climb. Our students with autism, we really feel like we need another preschool class. The numbers are significant and the needs are significant. So it's not a class that you can put 10 children in or 12 children in. You really need to keep the classes small and the staff ratio high. And so we are asking for an additional CARES position. And then below that, also in the realm of special education, is 2 speech and language pathologists or speech and language teachers. And again, this is for caseload. And that is because this year alone, we have increased the speech and language caseload by 115 students. So our numbers continue to grow, continue to climb. And so we are asking to increase that by 2 staff members. Looking at academic support, these are the areas that academic support falls into. And again, a similar conversation, whether we can maintain or increase changes. What are the changes in terms of the academic support staff, and do we need to consider a reduction in force? And so again, we have start off with another reconciliation. This is the athletic director. This happened in October. So we went to 1 athletic director and 2 assistants. And so that FTE is the second assistant director, the second athletic director assistant. We are also requesting an increase of 3 elementary guidance, and we've heard a lot about the chairperson role. In particular, I think the chairperson role at the elementary for the guidance counselors. And so this is our attempt. We're trying to work to address that and hopefully, support some of our staff members. So we have 3 schools that really have significant needs due to the special education population. So that is, 1 school is Snug Harbor. There are 11 substantially separate classrooms at Snug Harbor. That's a significant workload for our special education teachers, our guidance counselors. That's lots of meetings. And so by adding another guidance counselor at Snug Harbor, we are able to have someone focus on the chairperson role, but not taking away from the guidance support. And so that would be a huge help there. Our other school at the elementary level is Squantum. There are 5 substantially separate classrooms at Squantum. Again, that is a lot of students, a lot of meetings. There's 1 guidance counselor. And so we really feel strongly that that person needs support. And so that way we can not only provide, great support, have great meetings with our families in terms of the special education requirements, but also provide guidance support and have that not be interrupted by being pulled for meetings and things like that. And then Atherton Howe has 7 substantially separate classes and again, 1 guidance counselor. So we're looking to address some of that concern. Those are our 3 elementary buildings that have substantially separate programs in them. Parker has the STARS program, but there's already 2 guidance counselors there, and 1 is specifically for the STARS program. So in addition, we are also requesting to increase one OT position. So, and that is again for the caseload because the numbers have increased. We have increased speech over the past couple of years, but we have not increased OT. And typically when students are eligible for speech, they're also usually also receive OT. And then an addition of 5 special education paraprofessionals, and that's to assist in the CARES classroom, in particular the new classroom that we're proposing on opening. And then there's also some funds set aside for director and coordinator salary increases. Non-academic support. Again, we go through the same questions. And we're just recommending here just an increase of 0.5 clerical staff, and that's for HR. So there's currently a 0.5 person, there's a 0.5 position in the budget in HR. We're requesting to increase that to a full-time position. HR, we've been doing a lot of hiring over the past couple of years, pretty much since COVID. HR is a very busy place, and they could really use the support in order to manage all of the documents and paperworks and trainings and things that they have to do in order to help keep our system running smoothly.
The next slides are the subsidized services, the revolving accounts, food services, school building rentals, athletics, and transportation. We always have the questions about whether we can use additional funds from these. For the past several years, we have not gone up on any of the fees, and we're not recommending any right now, so if I can go through them relatively quickly. Food service, we have minimum food prices by the federal government, the National School Lunch Program. However, Massachusetts, with its surplus, has in the budget now a free lunch proposal by Governor Healy. The Senate's budget does not include, it includes funding for this year, but not to make it permanent. So our recommendation is to follow the guidelines and have free lunch for all our students going forward. As you can see, the fund is very healthy, and we're looking at improvements in all our school buildings and the school lunch programs. So our recommendation, again, is to maintain the free lunch. The minimum required lunch that is the third column down the bottom if we were not getting the funds from the state. So again, the state delegation is, and the state government is really being very helpful in this area. School building rentals, there were not a whole lot of them during COVID. They're slowly coming back up. We are looking for no increases in this fund right now. We used to be able to use some of this monies to go towards utility expenses. The rentals have not been significant enough that we're really showing a profit out of them, but they are a service to the citizens of the city. And the largest expense, instead of going for overhead and maintenance now, is for the custodials who are on duty while the building's being rented out. The current rental rates, we have a youth rate, Quincy adult rate, and an outside rate, and we're not recommending any increase in fees for this area. Transportation, this is one that has been severely hit due to COVID. We have a whole lot less, and basically the economy. We have a lot less outside rentals. Last year, this year we're only expecting about a $20,000 influx in funds. Last year, this committee voted not to charge students for transportation. We were charging students for those who were within the 2-mile limit on a space available if they wanted to take transportation. So right now, as long as there's space on buses, everybody is riding free of charge. That's for the regular ed. Obviously, special ed, we have to transport all the students, and if anybody knows anybody who wants to be a bus driver, please send them our way. We have many openings. The athletics program, again, took a hit during COVID. They're slowly building up to be larger. We're expecting slightly more in revenues for this fund, which is mostly from user fees, and there are gate receipts. So again, we're not recommending increasing the expense on any of our student athletes and their families. So moving on, we're looking at academic expenses. Here's the list of them. We're looking for increases in 3 areas going forward. One, we're looking for an increase for supplies, specifically to address the cost of paper. For the elementary schools, it's running up to typically 50 to 60% of the supply budget is going towards paper. The price of paper has increased significantly. Fortunately, it's come down some, but it's still going to be $39 a case. We typically buy about 4,000 cases a year. So this will be a direct infusion into the supply budget for the schools. We're looking for $76,740 increase. We're increasing funding for professional discretionary funds. These are the funds that teachers spend on recertification or for items in their classroom. It was a contractual item. We increased it by $50, and it's been slightly underfunded for the past couple of years, so this would get it fully funded. And we're looking for an increase in funding in musical instruments and supplies of $25,000. Non-academic expenses, typically the last place we look to increase and first we look to cut, but given the times we're in, we're looking for increases. The first is for natural gas of $219,100, and an increase in funding for electricity of $548,245. The costs have gone up, and particularly with the electricity, the usage has gone up as well, given all the technology that's in our school buildings. So a breakdown of the new funds available for budget building. 4 positions, net 4 positions in the academic classroom for $315,000. Academic programs, 10.5 positions, $661,500. Academic support, 10 positions, $502,000. Non-academic support, 0.5 position, $37,900. Academic expenses, $196,240. Non-academic expenses, $767,345. So that's 25 new positions in total in our budget, and approximately $2.5 million of funding for it. And this is the same items, but in the right-hand column, the far column, is the total increase in funds available of that 8.2. So this covers the contractual raises for all the groups that are in your budget.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Bergoli?
Back in the day, we had Chapter 1. Do we still have Chapter 1 that helps us out with, because I was funded, part of my.
Title
guidance.
I, yeah, not Chapter 1.
Title 1 now,
Title I, yeah.
okay. Do we still have that?
Yes.
And how is that used to pay some of the salaries of, say, our guidance people?
Well, we have, there are 22 positions currently in the Title I. They're typically for the Snug Harbor, Lincoln Hancock, Clifford Marshall, Parker, and we've got more schools that have been designated as Title I, so it's a huge help. That and the IDEA, the 240 grant with the special education. There's a large amount of entitlement grants. They basically go all to salaries, and they play a significant role in this area. So there's special ed, guidance counselors, and regular ed teachers funded by those that aren't funded by the school system.
Are we still using some Title I money for the parochial schools?
We have to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Okay. And you're adding a CARES class? And
Yes.
where is that going to be housed?
Well, we're in discussions about that. So that, potentially Point Webster or ECC, we'll have to figure it out. We're working on that. But, we don't have a choice. We have to do it. And hopefully it's only for a short amount of time, because then we'll have the Christopher Learning Center.
When's
Yes.
that supposed to be online?
I think in the fall of the following year. Yeah.
If I may. I think we'll be, by the winter of '24 next year, we'll be well along. And then it's the checklists and the furniture and all those other items. I know in informal discussions we've had, the thought would be you begin your tours and open it up to parents and families to look it over, do a robust program in that regard, and then plan a good, strong summer program with the idea then we go into full bore in September of the next year. So our next budget will reflect some of those challenges and needs,
You're saying
and opportunities, I should say.
a little more than a year? Is that what you're projecting?
About a year, I would say, because you'll be going into the summer program.
That'll be helpful, obviously.
Sorry?
That'll be helpful, obviously,
Indeed.
to take some of the pressure off the existing programs that we have housed at
Absolutely.
Point
It's going to
Webster.
be
and-
excellent, yeah.
Thank you. Mrs. Lebo?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm thrilled to hear about the interventionists. We heard that loud and clear in the school improvement plans, and they made a very good case for it, I thought, with the fifth grade in those schools, so I'm thrilled that that's happening. Also, the caseload support and the guidance counselors at the elementary schools where those classrooms are, so I'm really pleased with that. I have one question that I've heard from other districts in the press, that the Chromebooks have planned obsolescence. And I think we're fairly dependent on our Chromebooks, but I don't see anything in the budget that's going to talk about, how are our Chromebooks doing?
I think that they're doing okay, yeah.
They're still under warranty now. We're looking at some of the ESSA funds that we still have available that were budgeted for technology. If we're going to be, looking at a second round, it wouldn't cover everything, but it would be very helpful to do it. Right now, they're all working to address it now. I think would take away from some of the areas that we've just built on. So,
I just,
Matzos is the direct coordinator of basically repairing any Chromebooks that are broken. He's doing an excellent job of basically in-house refurbishing. Of course, there's some that he has to send out. But Irvin Matzos has been doing a great job in maintaining what we have. But certainly at some point, they will become, like most technology, all technology, it will phase out. We'll need to replace them over time.
and my last question is, and I think Mr. Guttrow brought this up before, we really need to know about those ESSER funds and when that cliff is going to happen and what it's going to do to our budget, and exactly what it is. So it's hard to look at the budget without knowing that in the background, so I don't know how we can squeeze that information in the process, but I'd like to see it.
next budget meeting.
Okay.
Mrs. Hubley?
Thank you. I had been hearing through the Mass Association of School Committees of a projected decrease in funding in our special education funding coming our way, approximately something around like 14% when they were talking about it. Is this anything that we're still hearing? Are we projecting for this, or?
There's been discussion about it. Right now, the federal government has the funds to continue it. What they did was they had a serious set aside in the 240 grant, the IDEA, but then they backfilled it with a second grant. And I think what they're going to be doing is probably getting rid of the second grant and then not having the set-aside requirement for us, so those funds would then be available. So the net effect for our system, we're looking at it, we don't think it's going to be a very big effect on us at all. And it's an entitlement grant, and we, very rarely do we have, it has happened in the past, and if times get tough, it might happen, but right now, the funding levels we think will be sufficient.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Guttrow?
Excellent presentation. The couple of questions. One, the 4 teachers class size all targeted to north?
All to north, yep.
And so what about space in the buildings? Do we have 4 vacant classrooms?
I don't know if they're vacant necessarily, but they may share classrooms.
Yeah. Is that a challenge in any of the schools? The space constraints continue to?
All the schools.
We're going to be working with Paul Hines on, obviously, there are the old room dividers, so we can potentially divide up larger spaces for classes. And obviously, we've been talking with Mr. Gilbert, and he's confident that with the help of Mr. Hines over the summertime, we'll have the school in good shape to fit these additional staff members in classes that will go along with them.
Should we as a body be talking about space, like over a 5-10 year period, just looking at the demographics, the enrollment, the, geography of where people are, so that we can at least have a more sophisticated understanding instead of year by year in the budget? Is that something we could put in subcommittee to talk about?
Sure, we can do that.
I think that'd be helpful. And like Mrs. Lebo, I mean, we had all these amazing presentations about new programming and having the specialists that I assume are going to help support making those a success is a pretty big deal. Question for Mr. Mullaney. Did I hear you right to say that, and I love the free student lunch and transportation as well. Did you say that we're basically taking a loss on rentals of school buildings?
No, it's not turning a profit like it used to. They're down significantly, I think, due to COVID.
Like people renting it for basketball or,
Correct. We have less people doing that over the past 2 years. It's certainly not a loss. What it used to do is when we had certain buildings that would have two or three rentals at the same time, would be able to make a profit on it because one custodian would be on duty and you'd be counting 3 fees.
Yep.
Basically now, the fees cover the custodial cost, so it's really not a moneymaker for the system.
I understand.
But it's certainly providing a service to everybody.
Yes. Yep. I just wasn't sure if you were saying we weren't making enough to cover the
Oh,
custodial
no,
cost.
that's definitely not the case.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Just one question. Is the city-side spending broken into the cost per pupil amount that we have?
It is to a degree. 'Cause the state, when they figure out certain things, I mean, it'd be easy to say, okay, take that, real easy math, approximately $20 million, we've got 10,000 students, it should be $20,000 per student. What they do is they take out certain expenses when they consider net school spending. And like I said, they take out those costs for capital improvements, they take out the debt service on buildings, they take out the principal on buildings. So while it's certainly an expense that's being incurred, the DZ doesn't consider that part of your net school spending. They don't take the physical plant per se as part of it. So the $18,000 per student is really higher if you look at the total expenditures, but there's certain things that the state does not count going towards that, but we're certainly spending it.
I just wanted to make it look fair. I mean, we often get judged according to how much we spend per student.
Yep.
And rightfully so. If the city's bringing over money to our budget, we should account for that in our per student expense. Well, I guess we can only do what the state asks.
Yeah, they have some strange laws and rules.
Well, thank you to you, Mr. Mullaney, and Superintendent, and your leadership team. I know that's a lot of meeting time and a lot of figuring out, so thank you. And we rejoin this conversation on Monday, correct? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item C, CBTE program update. Mr. Segala, Ms. Collins, and Ms. McGinnis to report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Santoro, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Joining me tonight is Mary Ann Collins, CTE Department Chair at North Quincy High School, as well as Rebecca McGinnis, Quincy High School's CVT Department Chair. Last fall, as you know, this team and I presented our CVT Program Improvement Plan, and a few weeks back, you had the witness of 6 CVT exceptional students who were either runner-ups or finalists for our Outstanding Vocational Technical Student of the Year. Tonight, we'd like to share just a few additional program highlights with you this evening, including our CVT program advisory teams, our 2022-23 Perkins funding expenditures, the Massachusetts Capital Skills Grant, as well as high school career centers. And finally, we'll close with CVT program initiatives. And we'll begin with Mary Ann.
All right. Hi. So between both high schools, we have 19 CVTE program advisory teams. They are made up of organized representatives from organized labor, business and industry, post-secondary institutions, community, parents, and students. So we want to give a special thanks to the 143 individuals who we have currently serving as members of our CVT advisory teams. Our CVT program advisory teams are charged with providing opportunities for CVT instructors and team members. They often come in and they'll engage in a positive dialogue to promote our programs through looking at our direction of our programs, the safety credentials we're teaching, the curriculum updates, making sure that we're up to the current standards. They'll offer any advice as far as improvements and give us feedback on the students' competencies that we're currently going by. They also help provide resources to validate our curriculum. They work with the CVT teachers and students and help share the current trends they're seeing in industry, along with the technologies that they're currently using in the industry. They help provide paid and unpaid work-based learning experiences for the students by offering us opportunities to have our students come in and job shadow. They offer us internships, different clinical placements, co-ops, and different other employment opportunities outside of the classroom. They help us to expand opportunities by the industry partners sharing their unique expertise and knowledge. They'll invite them into the classroom. We bring them into the classroom and they'll present to our students, as well as we'll bring the students out on field trips into their workplace. We also, they help with our senior portfolios. So every student will create a senior portfolio and they'll come in and help conduct a mock interview with the students, along with making sure their portfolios are up to the standards. They also help, a lot of times they'll help donate. They'll donate equipment and instructional materials to our programs, which is very helpful and generous. Our program advisory teams meet twice a year. In the fall, where you have all the members of the advisory team will meet, and then once again in the spring, which was actually tonight before this meeting. We were over at Quincy High for a nice dinner and a dinner meeting where we went over several different items on the agenda I have here we can share with you. So we meet twice a year, and at the second meeting, it's just the chair and the teacher where they'll go over things like budgets for next year and so forth. So what they do also on a night like tonight when they do meet, they'll go over things looking at the safety and equipment that we have, how we, they'll look at the program of studies, they'll look at our student enrollment. They also look at the curriculum and instructional materials. They look over the program national standards that we teach by. They'll look at the articulation agreements we have. They do also update on previous year's recommendations, so they'll look at what they recommended last year for the budget and then make recommendations for this year. They help establish our program goals. They'll share professional development initiatives and ideas with us. And then lastly, like I said, they'll approve the budget recommendations for what we need for the following school year.
Thank you, Mary Ann. I just want to take a moment just to review the 2022-23 Perkins recommendations, but now they're expenditures. We're able to spend what the teachers and staff and the advisory board members made last spring. Perkins Funds provides funding to ensure students enrolled in career and technical education programs are able to fully develop the academic knowledge, technical skills, and employability skills needed to enter the workforce or pursue continuing education in their chosen field. Quincy's allocation amount last spring was $160,443, which includes $40,000 from a summer funding surplus. Many of the districts in the state weren't able to spend their Perkins funds, so they had additional funding. We said yes, and there's additional $40,000 that we're able to spend. So Quincy's, once again, is $160,443. And when we make our recommendations, we prioritize the funding expenditures. We begin with safety. It's our number one priority in our shops and classrooms, and that's where our recommendations will begin first. Curriculum will come second, professional development and training will come third, and then equipment and technology will become that final piece. So in regards to safety, so we were able to purchase, for safety certification and credentials, we were able to purchase 122 vouchers for OSHA General and OSHA Construction certifications for a variety of trades. You'll see them listed right there on the slide, as well as your PowerPoint. We were able to purchase an online career safety awareness for those other vocational programs. 225 vouchers were purchased. That's a site license, approximately $680 for that 225 vouchers. And then finally, the film and television production program, we were able to purchase online safety training program, which is 36 vouchers at roughly $68 a piece. In addition to safety, we were able to purchase some curriculum, textbooks for a variety of courses or programs, excuse me, like business and healthcare and early education and care, whether it's Quincy High or North. Our staff and students benefit from the Perkins funding. Educational software would include a print scan, criminal justice, Mindtrap Instant Access, accounting journal for business technology, as well as 32 fundamentals of automotive, an online software for our automotive technology program. We're able to expend professional development opportunities for, expend certifications and credentials for our staff, whether it's American Welding Society, the Certified Welding Instructor certification for metal fabrication and joining technology. OSHA Construction certification for a metal fabrication teacher who's brand new, or at least 1.5 years old in the program. And also, as well as recertify our staff, plumbing to be one example, for OSHA Construction. In regards to equipment, you'll see the extensive list here on the slide. Through the Perkins funding, the 22-23, we were able to purchase a Challenger car lift for the automotive program, a Swift Cut CNC plasma cutter for metal fabrication, a dust collector, drill press, and sander for carpentry at North Quincy High School, Project Lead the Way equipment for both Quincy High and North Quincy High engineering program, a new CVT minivan for North Quincy High School to transport our CVT students at North to clinical placements, internships, co-ops, and we're thrilled to have that van, as well as 12 Apple Macs for our Design and Visual Communications program at Quincy High School. This year, we're pleased to announce or share with you that the Massachusetts Skills Capital Grant Program, our 11th round of funding, 11 rounds, $1.6 million for Quincy over the last, since 2017. This year alone, healthcare technology and electrical technology have benefited. You'll see the totals of $238,000, both for Quincy High and North Quincy High School, for new state-of-the-art equipment, enhancing and improving the technical skills of our students so that they can walk out of Quincy High and North with those skills and further their education as well, or in the workforce and such. We are waiting approval for the automotive technology program. We just submitted a grant, $164,000 for new automotive technology equipment. So we're thrilled with the Massachusetts Skills Capital Grant. Becca?
Good evening. I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the connecting activities liaison. That's Lucy Spellman. You might think of her as an employment specialist. She works with students with job opportunities and preps them for jobs, part-time jobs in high school. She also helps new teachers with the senior portfolios. These portfolios can be really overwhelming. They include a resume, an interview with a rubric, a writing sample, and a letter of application and thank you letters. And it's very important because every one of our seniors has to submit this portfolio, otherwise they will not get signed out of school. The next one is the CVT support liaisons. And Mr. Mayor, I need to say thank you very, very much for supporting this, and these have been incredible. For example, Brendan Cunningham is at Quincy High, and Rich Ragusa is at North. This past fall, I asked Brendan to get guest speakers for IT. So he went on to LinkedIn, and he found a North Quincy High graduate, and he came in and he spoke. He brought at least 12 speakers in to speak to the IT students. And he also included some of the criminal justice students. That was incredible. Also, we got a letter from Mrs. Lebo regarding Peter Horrigan. He is with the Boston Consulting Group. He was the first graduate in 2002 from the IT program. He came in at least 5 times, and then he also brought in some of his coworkers, some of the folks that work for him. It was incredible, incredible. And he really wants some of our students to go and work for him, and possibly they're going to for the summer job. The early college high school experience, Kara is over at North and Eli is at Quincy High. They have about 204 students in the program. In grade 10, they receive 6 credits. In grade 11, they receive 7 credits. In grade 12, they receive 9 credits. They support and mentor our students. I was talking to Eli the other day, and he actually helped parents fill out the FAFSA form. And I don't know about you, but when I filled that form out, that what a pain in the neck that is. And you might say, Rebecca, why do we support the early college high school experience? We need to remember that most of the United States has small businesses. So 98% of the businesses in America have 20 or fewer employees. So and with Career and Tech Ed, most of our people will probably work for themselves or a small company. So it would behoove all of them to go and get a degree in business at Quincy College. I mean, so it would be a fabulous move for those people as well, because all small businesses need to understand invoicing, accounts payable, cash flow, and how to collect money. So Quincy College, we support that very much.
If I could just add that these 3 individuals are located in career centers at each of our high school, a central location. So they all work together, they collaborate, and kids know exactly where they are and what time the office is open for whatever need they have, whether it's the connecting activities, the interview skills, or the resume, or a job placement. They get on and see Lucy Spellman, whether at North or Quincy High. They'll meet Rich Ragusa or Brendan as the CVT support liaisons. If it's the armed forces are in town and they're having a scheduled, they'll go meet and talk with them. So everyone's located in a central location, which is working very nicely.
All right, the CVT support liaisons. We have increased our ability to service students. Students have a much better understanding of the possibilities. For example, the women in the trades, I really believe that the women in the trades is starting to kick in, and that's why we started it with the freshman seminar. We included the freshman seminar. We have increased the number of females in our non-traditional shops. We have 11 females in metal fab. We have 3 in automotive. We have 1 in plumbing. We have 3 in electrical. We have 5 in carpentry. So these girls, some of them will be going to college. Some of them will be going into the trades. For example, Maddie is our vocational student of the year. She's going to Northeastern for a degree in mechanical engineering. And Dynasty is going into the workforce. And they're both metal fabrication seniors. Local unions. Our instructors have always maintained a relationship with the local unions. This is time consuming. With our liaisons, it has allowed us to become more fully involved with the unions. So each of the unions listed here have come in and spoken to our students, and we have gone out to each of those union halls. And that's because we have these liaisons. So it's made a huge difference. And another example is we have what we call Shop Fridays, where carpentry has gone over to the union hall and worked with the apprentice union instructors. You know, this makes unions far less intimidating, and our students feel comfortable going there now. CVT Trades and Union Collaborative. We had a seminar this past fall at Quincy High School in the library where 12 local unions came up and set up their recruiting tables. So all of our juniors and seniors were able to go in there and spend and meet and talk to each one of these, whatever unions they were interested in. Again, it just makes our students feel comfortable with these unions, and they have contacts now, so it's not as scary. Work-based learning initiatives. This has increased tenfold, the amount of opportunities that our students have had. For example, the city of Quincy, this was directly, summer opportunities last year were directly with the city. They weren't through YouthWorks. It included carpenters, plumbers, traffic, I think it's called TPAC. Yeah, all right. And this was not through YouthWorks. It was because Brendan took the time to go and bring students over and get their resumes and their applications in. So it was great. We also, again, because of Brendan, we also have a junior in business technology, and she will have a paid summer accounting internship with Clifton Larson Allen in Quincy. So all of our co-ops are going to work full-time, except for one that will be entering the military. Okay, non-traditional career pathways. They also, into the freshman seminar, they brought in two people. One was like a 6'5" male, and the other was a very petite female. And they said, all right, so what do you think these people do? Well, come to find out, the 6'5" male is a nurse, and the petite female was a police officer. So it's been these kind of things that have allowed our students, again, to think about doing something else and feeling comfortable with that. The armed forces. We have 12 or 13 seniors that are going into the military. This is definitely an increase in the number of students involved in that. They go into classrooms, they meet in small groups before, after school. They are in the cafeteria every month. We have wanted to, I'm not sure if you ever heard of a challenge coin, but a challenge coin in the military is something you give to somebody for thanking them for what they've done. And we've always wanted to do a challenge coin, and it's sat on my desk for 2 years, and I just haven't. I gave that to Brennan, and he's going to investigate that, and I know that it will get taken care of. So again, those are all cool things that have allowed us to make it happen because we've got that extra person. And both of them have been so fabulous. Program initiatives. This coming Monday, we're going to have our first pinning ceremony at Quincy High School for the Certified Nurse Assistant pinning ceremony. So this will be all the seniors graduating from healthcare tech, and we are going to have a pinning ceremony for them. The engineers, I'm just going to talk about a couple of these things. The engineers, the capstones, the topics this year, it was incredible to see these young people present their capstone. Better backpacks. They had a backpack where they had it set up so it would take the weight off your back. Bike helmet storage, smarter safety glasses, and hygienic handles were the 4 topics that were this year. And they were all incredible. The fashion show. This year, the fashion program, the students participated in Dressing the Girl, where students sewed 19 dresses that were sent to third world countries. The National Business Honor Society. We still have the largest chapter in North America. Read Around the World. The Quincy High School, the early education and care students, we donated 31 children's books. So each one of the EEC students donated a book to the classroom that they are working in. And they were also responsible for creating and carrying out a lesson plan to support that book. So that's about all we have tonight. Would love to have some questions. We are fortunate. We're doing some great things, and I think you've seen that, so we're lucky. Questions?
Mrs. Cahill.
I would say you're not doing some great things. You're doing a lot of great things.
Yes, true.
And and it's amazing to see it. And you know, I do see a lot of Brendan's posts and outreach on social media. And that makes me happy to see that, because it shows that that's really, he's been able to connect with our alumni and people who have graduated from the school, you know, from Quincy and North Quincy High. It makes that connection. And that's a great use of, actually a great lesson for the kids too, to see that that's a good way to connect with people in their industries, or if they're looking to, you know, get into a different industry or something. But I just want to say that, you know, congratulations, great stuff. And it all comes down to leadership and putting people in the right place and making sure that they're, you know, excited about the work that they're doing. So, and it translates to the kids, you know. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bergoli?
Yes, the new minivan you got at North Quincy for transportation for the North Quincy students, is that going to be used to transport them now to QATV to participate in the offerings?
Internships? That's the plan.
Good plan. Also, question, with our ROTC at North Quincy, how many of those students choose armed forces as a pathway as opposed to going to college?
That's a great question. I can't answer that one.
Not many.
Any?
I think there were 2 last year, but I don't know for sure.
I can get you those numbers. I don't have them, but
Okay.
it is not many.
Okay, because we have a lot of kids involved out.
We do.
in that, obviously. And this last question, the talent dynamics that I brought to you, is that something that?
Yeah, that's something with Miss Erin Logan that we're looking into that will help potentially our broadcasting students gain a greater understanding of the broadcasting industry and potentially reach contexts that would be beneficial for them in the future as well. So that's something that Mr. Segala and I are looking into.
That's great.
And thank you, by the way, for that connection.
Well, she's my cousin, so. I
Yes,
mean,
yeah.
Easy connection.
And she's a very professional and well-experienced, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Lebo?
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. First of all, I want to thank you guys, but I want to thank all those people who participate in the advisory committees. That's an incredible commitment for those people to come in and really review that stuff and do the safety walkthroughs and look at the curriculum. And it's really important work that DESE's looking for all the time. So I just want to thank them, first of all those people who come in, including the students and the parents, because they're giving up their time to make sure that our programs are doing the right thing. So I agree that the support liaisons are doing a really good job. I've seen them both in action, and they are making a difference. They really are making a difference. And I think that both schools having career centers and having that kind of support really allows kids to understand that they have multiple options, and that, you know, and that's one of the things we've always said we do here. We give kids the opportunity to do all sorts of things. And now, as long as we have somebody who can broker those things for them too, we're in a much better position. I have one question for you that I noticed when you were talking about your career safety awareness certification. So on the new frameworks, which I understand is still draft,
Yes.
but it looks like they're going to fly, unfortunately, they're requiring OSHA, even for healthcare students, not this credential.
Right.
So we might have to start considering that OSHA certification, because it's required in the new frameworks.
Right.
That's
you.
all I have. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations, a really great year.
Mayor Cope?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the risk of being repetitive, I'm going to go anyway. I know we've had discussions during the committee over the last several years, and I know it's great to brag at graduation time. So many percent of the kids are going to four-year college, so many kids two-year college, et cetera. And I know we talked a few years ago, essentially saying that not everyone's cut out for college. There's many, and I know we don't have a great tracking record. I know it's tough to do. Many kids go off last a semester and then they're floundering. So to give these young people the various options at that level, and I know we talked about those kids that would normally fall in the cracks. You know, I know the guidance counselor get very busy helping those kids going up to college, helping them figure things out, and lining up scholarships, such all very important. But these other kids were kind of just falling away. So I'm thrilled to hear that we're picking those pieces up, if you will, giving them an opportunity, give them hope for a good, positive future. There's many people that do very, very well in the trades. There's many people that find their way in the military and then do very well with a career fall in the military. So thank you for all the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to item D, Food Waste Diversion Pilot Program Update. We have Mr. Hillslip here. Oh, here he is.
Good evening,
Hello.
everyone. Great to see you all again. As you know, my name is Sarah Dufour, the school nutrition director, and I have here with me Finbar Heaslip. He is the Food Waste Diversion Program Manager, and I'm going to let him take it away.
All right.
Thank you.
Mayor Koch, Superintendent Mulvey, and the school board, thank you for having me today. I want to make sure this mic is all right. All right, good, okay. So I'm very excited to be here, very thankful to be part of this program. And I'm very excited to see Quincy going in this direction to be more sustainable. So I'm going to get right into it. All right, just click. All right. So, Food Waste Diversion Pilot Program. So here's an intro. Food waste makes up at least 21% of the U.S. trash by weight. When the trash is in, when food waste is in the trash, in these landfills, it emits methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas, which contributes to climate change. So going back, a task force was made up of 10 Quincy residents, set out to study how to reduce this. In that plan that they made, they created, they came up with short-term, middle-term, and long-term goals. One of the short-term goals was to begin food waste separation / composting within the public schools. So this is where I come in. At Quincy High School, we have, in the cafeteria, we have 2 waste separation stations. Both stations include a recycling bin, a food waste bin, and a trash barrel, and also a share table. So we launched this program in late February. With that came, we removed all the trash barrels, the singular trash barrels that were around. It's about 4 to 5. So we took those out to encourage students to come and separate their waste with us. And also what we've noticed with the trash barrels that do exist in the pre-existing cabinets, there's built-in cabinets at the high school. And what we've noticed is the amount of trash has been going down greatly. And as time goes on, the custodians will, don't change it as often. They would change it after every lunch. Now they change it after every 2 lunches, sometimes 3 lunches. So we've reduced the amount of trash significantly. It is a challenge that the cabinets are still there. They look great, but we want to encourage students to come to us. So we've put signage on those cabinets to take the 10 seconds and separate your waste. We've also displayed informational signage at the tables. So the amount collected, food waste and recycling barrels a week. So we collect the food waste from 3 different locations at Quincy High School. One is the cafeteria. That's where we have our 2 waste separation stations. The next is the cafeteria kitchen, food service. And the third one is the President's Cafe kitchen. All the food service people, staff, and the people that work in the President's Cafe kitchen have been very helpful and enthusiastic. On a daily, they've been separating their waste, and so they've been great. So far, we've collected 5,972 pounds. We weigh our weight every day, and that's without even that's not even including this week. So it's a few hundred over 6,000 right now, and 170 full totes of recycling, which is approximately 4.25 tons. So the numbers have consistently grown. It varies because certain days they might have a day off or whatnot, but it's been going up. There is a spike on week 5, and the reason for that was President's Cafe, the restaurant there, their refrigerator died over the weekend. So all of their weight would have gone straight to the trash. All of their food would have gone straight to the trash. It was all bad, but we were able to put that in food waste, which would be composted. So it was about 1,100 pounds. So there are some impediments. Multiple locations to eat. At Quincy High School, there's a cafeteria. There are 2 atriums, and students also have the option to eat outside. There's multiple exits in the cafeteria. There's 5 different exits. So the traffic of students varies, and it goes in different directions, which is difficult to us, both of those, because we have 2-way separations in the stations in the cafeteria, and we'd like to, be in the place where they're eating, be in their path that they're walking towards. Also, the number of students who eat cafeteria lunch at QHS is significantly lower than other schools. It's about 2/5, so that's another reason. Contamination. So we monitor our stations every day, except for several times, so there's no contamination. Unmonitored, we haven't had someone behind the barrel a couple times, and there's a little bit of contamination, but not that much, which is great to see. But the participation, decreased about 50%. So compostable silverware and condiments. Plastic utensils and condiment packages are the 2 most common sources of contamination. This is what you see in the wrong bins. So all utensils at QHS should be compostable, including President's Cafe, so we can get that message across that all utensils can be put in the food waste bin. Individual aluminum and plastic condiment packets should be swapped with large pump containers. This not only will reduce contamination, but it'll reduce overall waste. You'll see students grabbing handfuls of ketchups and only using one. Food not eaten, share tables. So we have the share tables at both, as I mentioned earlier, at both of our waste separation stations, and this is an opportunity for the students to give away their food items. Prior, all unwanted food was discarded in the trash barrel. So this is a great opportunity for students to take and leave food that they don't want to eat or that they do want to eat. And it's about 20 items taken per lunch period. Recycling. Prior to the launch of this program, there was no recycling being picked up at QHS. With the help of Tom Henry from the DPW, we were able to get in contact with the hauler and reintroduce recycling pickup. So that was very exciting, and it got the cobwebs off the recycling totes. Tom Henry also has been a huge help to our program, and he's been a huge support in getting us our supplies and whatnot. The number of totes currently are not adequate to the amount of recycling that's coming out of Quincy High School. So we've requested a recycling dumpster, and right now that's underway. And that'd be very exciting because all that cardboard that we collect can, be recycled. So current and planned educational initiatives, through it we've tried to provide, other than just word of mouth talking to students, we've tried to do special things to get students to understand what we're doing in the cafeteria at the school. So we've had educational quiz with prizes offered. 120 students have taken this 20-question quiz. It's a little picture of it. Other things that we have done to reach out to students is we've met with the Green Team. We've participated in the Multicultural Fair in March. Right there is a picture of Ruth Davis with a Green Team student. And Ruth has been very helpful. She's a volunteer that's been in this field for a long time, and she's provided a lot of knowledge and assistance that's really helped our mission, Quincy High School. Other things we've done is we've presented to the Science National Honor Society, we are planning to provide training to the Science National Honor Society students so they can participate in waste sorting. And starting next Monday, we will visit the first-year science classrooms. And we're going to do that for the rest of the year. So I'm excited for that. Program volunteers. We've been having volunteers helping out, monitoring our stations. They've been great. Emily has done a really great job at getting everyone on board to help out. But, so we've been supported by the volunteers from the Wollaston Garden Club. And then we're also planning that the Quincy Council on Aging will use QHS as a site for their members who wish to participate through the Senior Workers Abatement Program, which is called SWAP. That's also very exciting. Very enthusiastic volunteers. The need for monitoring. Stations need to be managed to some degree, just to prevent any contamination. In order for this to grow, we'll need consistent volunteers or figure something out along those lines for someone to always be there. Carbon footprint and overall, why this is important. Separating waste decreases the overall amount of trash going into incinerators and landfills. Also separating waste, that reduces the greenhouse gases. Quincy Public Schools is already reducing its carbon footprint. And we do plan to add North Quincy High School in the fall. So we're really excited for that. Reduce our carbon footprint even more. Questions?
Questions from the committee? Mr. Bergoli?
How are you going to evaluate the success of the program? I mean, is there a level that you want to reach?
So that's a great question. One thing that I've noticed is how to evaluate the success of it is being there and seeing students learn, and students who at the beginning weren't really into it and then have started coming to us and then getting their friends to come. And it's been that consistent daily growth of being there and seeing students really understand it and it to click in their head. It's been really exciting to see. And the lack of contamination, it's on monitor, is very exciting too. But it's just that slow growth that we see every day.
I know elementary kids have a problem with the food they eat. They're very particular about it. Is there any plans to move it down to that level as well?
Yes, that would be the ultimate goal. The goal, overall goal, is to get this into the whole school system in Quincy. So with each age group comes great things and difficult or challenges, but we believe that it'd be a great response.
Well, the education piece is key.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Mr. Guttrow?
I think it's a great program, and Emily, I know, has been a champion, which is great, so I love it to hear it. Where does the food waste go?
Great question. I'm so glad you asked. So on Thursdays, that is our pickup day, and Black Earth Compost is a local company. They have 4 locations in Massachusetts, so they pick up from us on Thursdays, and they also pick up residential, and they ship it off to one of their 4 locations in Massachusetts. And they have a lot of land, and they'll drop it off and they'll mix it in with other organic materials like yard waste and whatnot, and they'll move it around and get it all good, turn it into a nice soil amendment a few months down the line, and that is what helps support local agriculture and small gardeners and things along those lines.
That's great. And did you say this is all embedded into the curriculum so that in the classroom, especially at the high school level, if there's an environmental science class, are they understanding the connection of all this stuff? Have we got to the point where we made that nexus?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, this is kind of why we're planning to go into classes starting next Monday. There's a lot of students that understand it, and they're really excited about it. I remember on the first day when we started and we launched the pilot, we got like a round of applause at one of the lunches when we announced it to them, so it was really exciting. But yeah, our goal is to have students connect that this is,
Yeah.
if you are in environmental science, or you say to your friends that, oh, hey, you care about the environment, that this is one of those things that, hey, you have the potential to help save the environment by your school lunch. So,
And then the last question is for Sarah, I think. On the shared tables, which we all love, do you occasionally or school by school see a trend of similar items that are always on the shared tables? And if so, do you say, okay, maybe we shouldn't serve that if this is constantly being donated?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is there are certain rules and regulations we have to follow to make sure it makes up a complete meal. I know Emily had mentioned that beans are not a big hit, but beans do have to make their way on the menu once a week. So,
or celery sticks.
okay, good to know. Or celery sticks. Some kids might take extra condiments that they don't need, which could end up on the chair table too. But they do have to take a fruit or a vegetable. So at the register, when the cashier is saying this is not a reimbursable meal, you need to take that apple or the carrot packs or whatever it is, that might end up on the share table. What the USDA did is created a program for school lunch called Offer versus Serve. You have to offer, but you don't have to make them take it. You have to offer everything. You don't have to make them take all of the components, but they do have to take 3 components, and one has to be a fruit or a vegetable. So all we can do is follow the rules and hope that it changes behavior by getting them to try and eat more things. But this is a way to grab it before it gets thrown in the trash. And we can always provide those items to the nurses because they always end up having kids who need meals, not during the meal times. So it never goes to waste, which is great for the share tables.
And at the end of the day, whatever's left on the shared table goes where?
Well, if it's untouched, it can be given back to the ladies in our department, and they don't put it back on the line, but the kids can take it if they need something not during meal hours, or it can go up to the nurse's station upstairs.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Good job.
Mayor Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to thank Emily's leadership on this. I've just asked the superintendent when it was we flipped from the styrofoam trays. I remember that was kind of the start of all this a number of years ago, which was a great move. Again, that city-school connection, so our city's DPW pays for the trash collection, so the dumpsters pick up. The way we pay for our trash in the city, we pay for pickup and we pay for disposal. And that's based on tonnage, the disposal. So everything we take out of the disposal, we're not paying for in the end. So it's good for the taxpayers as well as the environment. Unfortunately, the recycling market is gonzo, so the city-side budget is going up $1 million just to deal with recyclables in this new budget. So we're taking it out and saving on one end, but we're paying more on the other end. I'm hoping that at some point that comes back. But I couldn't help but think, I know those that grew up in Quincy remembers Holbrook Farms. You used to have your garbage separated, you had a pail in the backyard, and they'd literally come in and pick it up out of the, I can't imagine doing that job in the heat of the summer. They'd throw it on their shoulders, dripping all over their shoulder and out to the truck, and it went to feed livestock, pigs and stuff in Holbrook Farms. So it's kind of like Back to the Future here. I don't think they were sensitive about the environment at that time, but it was a huge issue when Mayor Hannon decided to combine the two of them. Some say that, and the MBTA station at Quincy Adams cost them a reelection. I just find it fascinating. Here we are back, and I love the program because what I just stated, it saves money, it's great for the environment, and I certainly want to encourage and continue to support the expansion of it in our schools. So thank you for the good work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mrs. Lebo.
Things. Thank you, Finbar. That was great. So the buy-in, I want to tell a story that Ruth told me that this one girl was coming up with 6 trays from her table, struggling across the cafeteria to bring in. She said, "You don't have to pick up after the boys." She said, "I'm going to be raising my babies in this community. We got to clean this place up," or something to that effect. So it was really a big moment that she was educating those kids about. And now you see one person was coming up with a bunch of trays said, "Oh, we take turns." I said, "You did the whole table?" She said, "Yeah, we take turns." Today was my turn to bring up the whole table stuff and separate the waste, so it's great. And the share tables, honestly, there's almost nothing left. People take celery sticks. I mean, people take carrots, apple slices. You know, I had a kid once at the end of lunch, took 8 packages of carrots.
Right.
8 packages of carrots, little packages of carrots. Can I take these? I said, please take them. So there's very little that doesn't get taken by somebody. Very little. Somebody's eating it.
Right. Even it's for the athletes that have a game that day and want to stock up on apple slices for everyone.
So thank you very much.
Anybody else? Mrs. Cahill?
And I'll keep it short, but I had the opportunity to come and volunteer one day. I wish I had done more, but between vacation and some other things, I haven't been able to make it back. But it is really exciting to see, and I think the biggest piece, and what I feel like is this generation of kids are a little more in tune with environmental, sustainability and all that. And I know the little kids are growing up with it, and maybe I would think that it might be easier, although not on a big scale, because there's too many. The elementary kids would probably pick it up easier because they're more apt to come into school and maybe follow the rules, But I just want to say the program was amazing, the share table was amazing, but the thing that I even came away with outside of the program was I was there for 4 lunches, and I have to say that the kids at lunch, maybe I was there on a great day, but they were amazing. They were sitting, they were talking to each other. I thought I was going to go in and see everybody on their phones and not socializing, and they were all like engaged with each other, and even with coming up to the stations and talking it through, and they were kind of they were embracing it. So I think it's great. I think your biggest challenge is just getting everybody to understand what it's all about and how to do it, like educating everyone. But it was fascinating to see, and the share table was great for, like you said, the kids going off after school and being hungry for their sports and things like that. So it was great, and thank you, Ruth and Emily. I know the volunteers that are there every day. Hopefully, maybe I'll see you before the summer session is in. So thank you.
Thank you.
A couple of questions. Anybody else? Oh, Mrs. Lebo.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that every volunteer that's been in, we have 17 volunteers, mainly from the Garden Club, but every single volunteer has said the same thing that Mrs. Cahill said about the students at Quincy High School, and that it's quiet, that it's organized. And everybody, there's a lot of adults looking in case it isn't, but it really is a lovely place to spend some time. The kids are happy, the place is nice, it's very well organized, and I just kudos to the students and the administrators and the teachers at Quincy High School, because it's very, very welcoming. And every single volunteer who's been in there has commented on it. So I just wanted to squeeze that in.
Also, what's amazing is that you see the different cultures sitting around one table, which is very important because they're all sitting together as one, which is really nice. Just a question on the process. Kids come up, they distribute their things. Who takes the actual bin to the location it goes, and where is that location?
Currently, I do, and the volunteers can help me some days, but primarily I do, and I take it to the backloading dock.
In the loading dock?
Yep, where the trash dumpsters are and the recycling totes. And
You may want to take advantage of the speaker system that's in the cafeteria, because you could have a microphone there.
yeah,
There is access to a microphone where you want to maybe announce at the end of a lunch. It might even be more helpful.
Right.
But I thank you to you, and I thank you to all our volunteers. It's a very helpful thing, not only to the school, but to the city. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional business from our members? Seeing none. Communications, upcoming school committee meeting, June 14 at 6:30 here at Cottington. Upcoming subcommittee meetings at Cottington. On the 24th, beginning at 6 o'clock, we have a fiscal year 2024 budget presentation, followed by a facility, security, and transportation subcommittee meeting. On the 31st, beginning at 6, we have another budget public hearing. Where are we talking?
Monday's the 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Misprint. Monday is the 22nd. Sorry about that. We have another one on the 31st, beginning at 6, a budget public hearing, followed by special ed and teaching and learning.
And communication.
Yes, Mrs. Lebo.
I know this isn't something that we're communicating right now, but it is something that we communicated before, and I'd like to have us address it again at some point in time. We should really get that workshop with MASC done. We had talked about it in February because we wanted to come up with school committee goals, and I think we should do that before we look at the goals that we established, see if they're still valid before the pandemic, and see if we can change those. I don't know if we could possibly get a workshop with him, because he came in and told us about goal setting, and that's not what we wanted. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no reports of subcommittee meetings. We do have an executive session for a purpose of contract negotiations. On a motion of Mr. Bergoli, seconded by Mrs. Lebo, we go into executive session. We are not returning to public. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, we need a roll call. Roll call vote, Superintendent.
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley. Mrs. Lebo.
Yes.
Mr. Santoro.
Yes.
Mayor Koch.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.